home. But normally I do two-sided, so if that was two-sided, that's 2 copies at my school, and things, just like everybody else. Well, in order to figure out this shortfall and stuff, we decided to implement a paper fee. Do you guys, any of you do that?
No. We have to use our own paper this year in our school.
Now you buy that paper yourself?
Yes, our PTO gave us 1 box, but I teach kindergarten, so.
Oh yeah, that doesn't go far, that's like 9 minutes.
Gone.
Yeah, that's like 9, yeah. Well, what we're gonna do is, each teacher's been assigned an Excel spreadsheet, and all the kids' names are on it. And now we have to track this, because we all have lots of time. God knows you have a lot of time to do this. So every time you make a copy and you hand that copy out, so you go, okay, here's your copies. Then we have to go to our Excel spreadsheet and go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I got a copy. And then we're gonna say, okay, that's a nickel piece. Oh, it was 2-sided, ooh, that's 10 cents. Okay, and then at the end of a month, the parents are gonna get a bill. Oh, wow.
And you're gonna really expect these to be paid?
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna treat it like it's a lunch bill. And they can pay it online, just like they do their lunch bill.
What about like a Title I school though?
They're still working out some of the logistics with that. I'm not sure if they'll be exempt or if they, like they do free lunch, if it'll go in like maybe 3 cents instead of the nickel, or, kind of like we do a free and reduced lunch. But the idea is to kind of offset, because we're, $10 million, that's a lot. And so they're trying to across the board make everybody step up and do their cost. Because I know from my class, and I'm not at a Title I school. I don't, I have best friends at a Title I school, but she's elementary, I'm middle school. I'm more fortunate, Mr. Williams is more fortunate to be at our school. But we still have to offset. So it was either get rid of all the sports, and you were checking football scores. So the option was to get rid of sports. I'm also a track coach. So I'll fend track just like coaches will fend football.
Yes.
And there's a lot of times where I'm like, no, track is just as important. More kids can go to college on a track scholarship than a football scholarship. I mean, even at a middle school level, all through high school, I've tracked my kids. And I've had 10 kids go on, to college on track scholarships. And so there's more opportunity for that. So
Was it partial scholarships or full scholarships?
Full scholarships. I've had a few partials, but I've had 10 kids go on full scholarships. All sorts of places. They've gone to Alabama, University of Alabama. I have several kids who have participated in Junior Olympics, and so they're talented kids. So I would hate for them not to get that at our level and have to give up, because of football. We break even with football. Kids pay a fee, we pay a fee to get in the door, but we pay for field upkeep, we pay for, referees, and basketball, same thing, the court, all that. So we're not even really breaking even. So this paper fee is gonna help offset that and help keep teachers in the classroom. It's the best thing we can do.
So if they don't pay it at the end of the month, do they not get copies for next month? I mean, what's the consequence?
I don't know. A lot of the kids said that their parents would be willing to bring in the paper, but it's really not the paper itself, because, I have paper. It's the ink, it's, the printer itself, it's going through all of that stuff. But everybody has, the county's passing it on to me, so I've got to pass it on to someone. And, I personally don't think I should put the bill for everybody's copy, because the kids always lose them. And then I have to give another one. I pick up a lot off the trash. And things. So we have to pass it on to someone, so our kids are going to have to do it, and the parents are just going to have to put the bill.
Is this every school, I'm assuming? Because I haven't heard this yet. I have one in Columbia County, Columbia Middle.
That's because I just lied to you.
Oh.
Wow. You had me going there.
But that's my hook. That's my tie into the American Revolution. I did that to my kids yesterday in class. And I do it every class period with a very straight face. I even hold up a letter that actually, yesterday it had nothing to do with it. This is just something I was going to discuss today, so it's not a lesson plan, it's nothing official. So I just always look at something in class and get kind of like, well, don't shoot the messenger. And we had studied the French and Indian War, and so we had just finished talking about that, and I had said to them, now we're going to move on to the American Revolution, and the colonists weren't very happy about it, and then we had stopped for our exams. So then Friday, we had we had this day after exams, so we sat around and we talked. So I was like, okay, gotta tell you this story. I have to tell you this. And the kids just were like, I'm moving and I'm doing this and that. And I was like, but we all have to put this bill because of this $10 million deficit. It's not fair for me to do it. And then all of a sudden, somebody said something, and I just said, no, I just lied to you. But it got them. And it made it real for them. It came alive for them. So that's the hook. And then I explained to them that that's exactly what happened to the colonists. Not everybody in England had to pay all the taxes. The colonists paid for this war that really ended up not having very much to do with them at all, because the war continued on for 7 years in Europe. So that was my hook. Now when we go to break up with England, I read a Dear John letter. And I break up with my class. And I go in and tell them all my grievances about the class, and I'm no longer going to be their teacher anymore, and the next day they're going to, someone else is going to be in here because, but I've got them,
At what point through the year do they learn to tell what's truth and what's not?
Well, even by the time, by fourth period, I always have to beg my kids not to say anything.
Right.
Kids will always go out and say something, but it depends on how convincing you are. And the more convincing you can be, they'll always go, well, maybe it is true. Maybe she really does mean that. So, I just go with it. On stuff. See, I had all of you. And your reactions were perfect. But that's the type of stuff I do. One time in my class, I had them join Petty Nation, and I was a communist country. And they came in, and the kids who joined first got special privilege cards, and the kids who had to be forced to join didn't get anything, but they got all the work, and they didn't get the extra type stuff. And we kept that going for a little while, and so my principal still calls me Petty Nation. And so what I did during the summer, however, for Dr. Walker was this. I had a list of products on the board, just like this, and then I'm going to ask you, what do they have in common? We have plastic and batteries, cosmetics, vitamin C, medication, carpet, crayons, paper, toothpaste, explosives, soap, and candy. And I probably could have put up a few more things. No. They all contain chemicals, but they are not. They all have one thing in common, however.
I mean, they have the same thing in common.
They all have one thing.
Okay.
They all have one thing in common. They all have one thing in common. And I'm not a science major.
It's not that you have to purchase them or buy them?
Nope.
They're all important.
Nope.
Vitamin C is in oranges.
You look just like my 8th graders. And they're like, what is she up to now?
I'm sorry. I'm like,
I'm sorry?
The teacher.
Nope.
They don't have anything in common?
They do?
They're all
I
found in a
promise.
classroom or school.
No.
Oh, I guess explosives, that's fine.
Explosives? What school do you go to? Oh my God.
Okay, let me add one to that and see if maybe that might help. Thank you. Oh, yeah, that helps.
Yeah, that helped a lot.
Big deal.
Southern.
No? What's that?
That's still there.
No, not bacon.
I'm giving it a
It's
solid.
head and bacon.
I can bring
Products
them
in Georgia.
and-
Did I get it right?
Do they grow? Does a peach have vitamin C?
Yes.
They all come from here? No. What's the cake? Never mind, I'm off.
It's made in Georgia.
That's a good one then.
Chickens could be grown in Georgia. The carpet's from Delonico, probably. Yeah, Dalton County, carpet capital. Give up?
Yeah.
Corn.
Corn.
Okay. They all have, now I could have put up gasoline.
That's probably what you use corn with.
They all contain something to do with corn. Corn starch, corn syrup. So everything has a byproduct of corn. And a large part of our economy is based on corn. So at this point in my class, this is a lesson that I generally teach, and I teach it backwards. So my kids would get this lesson, and we would talk all about this and what they have in common and that type of thing. And then I have a web quest, but at my school, we don't really have access to computers very often because we have this huge math program that just has to have the computer lab like every day. So I just do hard copies of a web quest. And so it contains everything that they need, and I just put out like a class, set, not even maybe half, because the kids can work on others. And so with this is what they would walk into. They would see this, and then I would actually make popcorn, but I figured you'd be full because you just had lunch, so I didn't bring it up. But I do keep a popcorn maker in my classroom. It drives all the other teachers crazy because it's very loud. And then I give them 2 different worksheets, and they are differentiated. So, that's the new buzzword of everything, differentiation. And then I give them a map of the United States. And then what I do on the board, I would put up the great big map and show where corn is produced. And what would our life be without corn? So if we took away all the corn, we would have none of these products. So for me, very important. We wouldn't have it anymore. This would be kind of dangerous not to have this one. Feet would get kind of, cold and things. Children would probably cry not to have that one. This would just be boring because the chickens and pigs eat a lot of corn. And I have a sweet tooth, so I'd cry on this one too. And we'd all stink on that one. With this, we'd love this one. Yeah, we could get rid of that one. ISIS would be sad. The tax would be good because we wouldn't have paper to begin with. So, we would just do without. So what would our world be like? We don't have corn. So, what is affected by corn? Farmers. Okay. They grow the corn. They fix, their plows, and you have to have that equipment. Then they have to get the corn from the field to the store. So we have to have a trucker who has to have gas, which is comes from corn. So the trucker, and then the store, and then the family who gets to the store to buy the corn. So without corn, no farmer, no trucker, no job, nothing to go to the store. So, without the trucker, there goes the gas. There goes the person who bought the truck, made the truck to begin with. There goes more jobs. And so on, and so on, and so on. Just keep making those connections. And then the kids go. So that's where all of this type of stuff comes in. They would go through here and they would see all the states and how much corn is actually produced. And I can just pass around a cup off here. You'll have to share, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure how many would be here. And that is for, some of my lower kids would get this one. And then this one becomes for my more advanced gifted kids. then again, they would get a map of the United States, and it would also be made into a poster. And so that this would be up on my wall, and whatever they do on this map, then they could come up and do it again. So then the kids, it's kind of like these posters around, but this, we have a poster maker, we're fortunate. So after they figure out the bushels and everything, then they would go through and be able to see where our corn production is. And then we go through, and on the map, we would also add in transportation, the roads, everything that we can connect to that for our economic type thing. So we've done that. So now it's, well, where's the corn come from? And why do we have it? We grow it, but still, where did it come from? You know, I mean, somebody has to do something with it first. So I make them think and start thinking more and more. And then I pull out my magic bag of stuff, and we start talking about it. So I have this ear of corn, and this is just one we got at the farmer's market. And so, you're making me so nervous back there with that camera. All right. So then we start talking about all the parts to this. You know, I mean, and it's pretty cheap. I mean, I think we got, my husband and I went this past weekend, and I think we got like 6 ears for like $4. I thought that was pretty good, farmer's market. You can get it cheaper, but it's good corn. It was good. And then we start dissecting it. We see all of this stuff. So we start talking about it. What would you use it for? Can you use it?
Yes, I think you can use it.
For what?
I thought children would put it on a paper plate and use it as hair.
Okay, use it as hair. How about thread?
Red.
Is it fire, right, you can use it for fire kindling.
Well, it's kind of soft. I mean, it's pretty moist right now. So you have all of this stuff. They call it silk. You know, so when it dries out, you can use it. Because that's what the Native Americans did. You know, they used all of this. They dried it out. Here's pottery. You know, they would make their baskets, twist it, and add another piece to it. Keep twisting it. Get their thread, put it through, and make great baskets. You know, and you can ask your classes, you can ask a mom, because you can really get ears of corn. I mean, sometimes you can find them for like 25 cents. You know, depending on the season. You ask one mom to, you know, hey, I need some corn. And they'll bring it in for you. You dry that out. Show the kids how to make a corn husk doll. Have you guys seen that? There's a great legend about a corn husk doll. And then, you know, the kids can use that. We do writing at my school. Are you guys required to do writing with the kids? Make them come up with their own legend of the corn husk doll. You know, creepy me out, especially with Halloween coming. That's pretty cool. And then we can move on to actual Indian corn and what it looked like and how they dried it out and what they used it for. That's pretty good. And now this is just the actual corn. So I bring it in, show them around. After I get thread everywhere. Sorry. And then this is the corn. So, just gonna put a little bit right here. Make a mess. My room's always a mess. I am not organized, and I'm a mess because then you know that my kids have done something cool. Okay, this took a long time. The corn actually takes a long time to dry it out. But this is probably like 5 husks of corn, I think. It smells good. Huh? It smells good. Yeah. But this, now what I would do with my kids at my school is that in order to teach them that what the Indians would do with it, is that I would send them outside, and we have certain sections on our, playground, well, we don't have a playground, but the field, that there are rocks. So I make them go out and get their rocks. And then they grind it. So they made their own corn maze. And things, we can't eat it or anything because it's done with rocks. But yeah, so then, so now they're getting the feel for it. They're understanding it. This is what was left. This is the cob. And again, I just put it all into the oven and dried it out. But every part of the piece of corn was used. They would make arrows. It would become a pipe. So every bit, was used. Nothing was wasted. It could become toys. A lot of it was, if they cut it off and put it was ceremonial. The more type of, like rings you would have on your necklace, warriors would wear at certain times to show how brave they were. So basically how many people they killed. Boys really like that part. Girls are kind of like, whatever. And so they get a feel for it. And again, they're understanding this is where they come from. Popcorn is actually 80,000 years old. Wow. And things. So I'm not quite sure how it was invented, but there have been fossils found where it's actually been popped. So we do know that it goes back 80,000 years. So that's just an example of something that I did. When I taught 7th grade, we focused on the Eastern Hemisphere. Does anybody teach 7th grade? Okay.
I do social studies.
Well, in 7th grade, we have to do Africa, and we always study water scarcity. So my kids are required to bring in a milk jug, and then we go out to the football field, and they walk a mile with an empty milk jug. And then they stop and we fill it up, and then they walk a mile back, carrying this milk jug. Because we also study, primarily it's the women's role or the girls' role in Africa to get the water. That's their family responsibility. So there's nothing like making these kids understand what they're doing and put them through it. I mean, we can't replicate everything for them because it is history, but we can give them a sense of what it is. And my kids get real excited. They like history now because they always come in and my first day, do you like history? No. What do you mean you don't like history? It's great. It's boring. No, it's not. It's this. They always tell me that they hate history. I'm like, how can you hate history? How can anybody hate history? Because they don't understand it. It's too much book reading. Don't make them read a book. Show them. Show them what it is. Yes?
I have just a quick funny story about that. I grew up here, basically in the Augusta area, but as soon as I graduated high school, I moved out to California for 22 years. And it's like when I would come back to visit my parents, we'd go down to Charleston or just go somewhere, And I remember them taking me to Charleston as a child growing up, and they were stopping to read all the signs about all the history, and I just wanted to go do the fun things. Well, it kind of flip-flopped as I became an adult, and I would come back to visit. We would go down there, and I'm like, wait, I want to read this sign.
Yeah.
Because I got more interested in history and started to appreciate it more as I grew up and became an adult. But I would have loved to have had that appreciation as a child, looking back.
I have 2 boys, and my kids, even before I became a teacher, we were always that family who stopped and looked at the signs, but we always made it something fun about it. Like, I'm from Arizona, so I grew up, with natives around us. My youngest son was born in the middle of 3 different Indian reservations. So we were the ones who would go to 4 corners, but we would go in the headdress and, go out and, make it fun and make it interesting. So my kids have always enjoyed history. It's more than just going to a museum and looking at a picture. But sometimes that's the best way to get kids to kind of get a feel for it. We try to take some field trips, like we take our 8th graders to the Battle of Aiken, the Civil War reenactment. Great field trip, and it's free. So, great field trip for Civil War. And all you have to do is pay for your buses. There's no fee for a school to get in. But that helps them understand, and that for us always is it's the end of our unit. So for us, it's just timed perfectly. We had done different, I mean, we did a whole big thing about bullying, and we have special ed kids at our school, so the kids go through a workshop in my classroom where they put on goggles and, put tape around hands and, hands behind their back, and they have to do assignments so they can understand what it's like, so they get more empathy for kids who are dealing with other things. For me, it's just the whole child. We have to deal with the whole child type thing. For pictures, and I only have one copy of each of these, some of this came from the Library of Congress, and this is actually from the Smithsonian. And it is a classroom detective, or a picture detective, and they have all these pictures, and then the kids can go through and look at these pictures, and they have to analyze the pictures. This is about a sod house, and it's in the it's like 1877, 76 maybe. And so you give them questions, and the kids have to look and really, like, kind of an I Spy game. They're black and white pictures. This one is more about, but then there's another one where you can talk about what the sod house is. Oh, sorry, I don't have that front card. But the pictures go through and they talk about, like, it's your sense of what it would be like to be in a sod house. So it would be like coming in here and dealing with that. Don't you like that, Mr. Williams?
Oh, yeah.
But that's what it would be like to go into a sod house, because there were no windows. It was made of mud. So it was for protection, and the temperature stayed pretty good, but put them in the dark. Make them, how are you going to do this? Even if we left that door open, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot. From the pictures, they can see, and some of those pictures, you can see how miserable the people are, how sad the women and the children are. You'll notice in pictures in history, a lot of people don't smile, because life was hard. So show them that it was hard. See how much time on? We got time. At the end of my year, we start talking about it in August, but at the end of the year, my kids put on the living history of the Georgia timeline. We start with the early natives, and we end up with modern Georgia. And the kids are in groups. They get to select the groups. They get to select who they want to work with. They write a script for each era that they're in. They create their costumes, and they create their set. I have 254 8th graders, and all 254 8th graders will be part of it.
That's insane.
And then we present it at the end of the year to the rest of the school, and to parents, and to basically anybody else who wants to come.
Elementary schools?
Elementary schools, we have 2 neighboring elementary schools that feed into us. So it's pretty interesting to see their interpretation of things that they've learned throughout the year. And we talk it up all year long. The kids know that it's coming, and every time we talk about it, you always hear those kids say, "This is what I want to do. This is the group I want to be in." And we had the kids who were the Highland Scots who came to settle in Georgia, and that was a group of boys, and they all wore their sisters' plaid skirts. It made it interesting, but it was, the kilt. I mean, they figured it out. They figured out how to do it and stuff. So that's what they did. Everything's made from cardboard, so nobody can get hurt. But they made their swords, they spray painted them, they came up with their family crest, they did the whole thing. We had the Paleo Indians, they make a woolly mammoth, and then the kids, are on the other side holding it up, and you have the ones who are attacking it and going on, so they make it real. I've always had a group of girls, I don't know why girls like this, but the Boston Tea Party. You tell girls that they can do the Boston Tea Party reenactment, they love you. I don't know why, but yeah, that's them. They like the Boston Tea Party. They build a boat out of cardboard. They get their costumes. Last year they brought in a kiddie pool. They got to the point where they even went and got giant tea bags, and then they were throwing tea bags into the kiddie pool. and stuff. So that was their, interpretation of it. But yeah, so that's how I did it.
Don't forget to tell them the size. It covers a football field.
Oh, it does, yeah. They come in and they walk around, and then on the inside of the football field is all individual, like businesses. We have Home Depot that's from Georgia, Waffle House, Chick-fil-A, Delta Airlines. So some kids will also present that. But we have individuals who will do Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln. We do the Civil War. We recreate, what is it? Andersonville, sorry. My mind went blank. But so that we talk about that, we do that, we start that at the very end of, it was CRCC, so now at the end, the Georgia Milestones. We'll start that, and then that's what we do toward it takes us about 3 weeks to get ready. And then we present to our school. And the kids really like that, and again, then they can really see and appreciate what they're doing and why you're doing it. Why did I learn this? Oh wow, I understand it. And I have kids go home all the time and just come back and say, well, did you know this? I'm like, no, I didn't. Excuse me. But it's just all for, just turning off my phone, I'm sorry. It's just trying to get the kids excited about what you're doing. I can tell you honestly, the story that I told you when I first came in, I made up off the fly one day. I was like, how am I going to get them to understand this? What is it, different besides, oh, here's a worksheet, here's your bell ringer, write this sentence, answer this journal question, because I get bored. And if I'm bored, they're bored. So I was thinking about it, and all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, I can do that. I can get them. And I got you, so I got them. Because all of you went, oh my gosh. Last night at my school, we had a pageant, and some of the girls were in the pageant, and we had passed out ballots, and they were like, do we have to pay a nickel? And so they'll remember that. But next week, when we fully start the American Revolution, they're going to remember that. So as we start talking about those taxes, they're going to remember that. When we do this corn, every time we bring up the economy, they remember this. So they're able to make those connections. And I use those connections all year long. I mean, I can use it. And I can tie it back. We went to the canal and took a tour of the canal, another great field trip. We're able to tie in science and social studies at the same time. You were 6th grade? You're 6th grade. So that's European history, South America, and Canada.
And Australia.
Okay, did you do anything for it?
We'll just finish Europe.
You just finished Europe, but did you, anything fun, big projects? You didn't have like a royalty day? Dress in purple? Purple's a royalty color. South America would have a Latin food day.
We decided to have a Roman and Greek day for our 6th graders in February.
Yeah. Anything that gets them like going, oh, cool. You can leave food, love it, obviously. But you can get their interest with food. Well, okay, why is the food different here? We studied China, we had Chinese food.
Or Renaissance fair. We did that at the middle school in California. I taught at, the kids have to get in groups and create their products to, sell and barter and trade. And like the girls would make the little headbands with the ribbons, they would get together.
Excellent.
They prepare this months ahead of time. Some would have like little cheese things with grape juice to be wine,
right.
Stuff like that. And it was amazing. Those kids really got a lot out of that.
Yeah, and they do, and that's what they're going to remember. And then the history changes from this boring thing that I just have to sit there and survive to, oh wow, look at this, look what I know, look what I can share, and I think I'm older than everybody in this room. So my father was 17, well actually 16 when he went to World War II, when he was part of the Army Air Corps. But his mother, my grandmother, unfortunately I never met her, came over to the United States as an indentured servant. So I get to use that story. I have the picture of the ship that my grandmother came over. I have the documents where the people that she went to work for was a family in Pennsylvania. I have the document where they came and signed for her and stuff. And we have a copy of the contract. She worked for 7 years for a family. She had Thursday afternoon off and Sunday for 2 hours to attend Mass. We're Catholic. But she worked for this one family for that length of time, and they paid for her passage over, and then she was given room and board, and about $2 a month. Yeah. And the $2 a month, well, probably about $1.50 was sent back to Ireland to help the rest of the family, because she came over because it was the tail end of the potato famine. So that's how most of the Irish immigrants came over to escape that, but in order to take care of their families, that's what they did. And she signed her rights away. So for 7 years, this family had the control. So I use that family example to show them. I can bring in these documents. Look, this is not a made-up story. I have this to show it to you. This is, where I come from. Just like, when we talk about slavery. And I will be very honest, there's parts of it I don't teach because it's a very touchy subject for some students, but I'm not afraid to tackle it. And I will not ever, kids don't know whether I'm Republican, Democrat, Independent, Liberal, whatever. I do tell them I'm Catholic, but half the time they don't believe me. We don't ever I talk religious books, but I don't ever quote or do anything like that in my class. But I do acknowledge all religions, that type of thing. But I challenge my African American boys not to say the N-word with the A on the end, because I think it's a disgusting word, and my goal is to wipe it out of the language completely. And so 5 years now, every time I take on the challenge. This year I've agreed to do the Ice Bucket Challenge if they can go and not say it to their friends or text it, because it's an ugly word. So that's becoming real for them, and they tell on each other very quickly. Very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we talk about, well, what made you say it? We talk about Kanye West. Don't listen to him. People don't listen to him.
He made a,
No, he's
he yelled
disgusting.
at a person in a wheelchair. I'm not a fan of him.
Exactly. But the kids need to know that you have to pick your heroes the right way. You don't pick a hero because they make millions of dollars. You pick a person who is, supposed to be admired. You don't pick somebody just because of millions of dollars. And just because you hear it in a rap song, it doesn't make it right. One thing. So, I believe, I'm kind of bad. I believe in I do whatever I want and then ask for forgiveness later.
She does.
Exactly. Yeah. She does. He's my teammate, so yeah. He's like, yep. I just put it out there. I'm sorry.
How do you have them reflect on the different topics or activities that you do with your reflections?
I do. Sometimes it's and I'm bad at it. I am. Because I keep going. My kids have to tell me, oh, Miss Petty, it's time for lunch. We got to line up. So I have 2 kids in charge of lining up. I have 2 kids in every class telling me it's time to go because I just keep going. But we'll do a ticket out the door. Usually it's the next day. Like when they come in, we'll either do a group discussion like this. Do you remember what happened yesterday? Tell me about it. I keep an interactive notebook, a spiral notebook. Did any of you do that? Oh, you do great things, aren't they?
Georgia history.
Yeah, I love a spiral notebook. A spiral notebook is, they create the book. I started it 8 years ago. I still have the original because that child has, in the front page of his book, he said he was going to go to Duke. And he did. He went to Duke on a scholarship. And, but everything we do, all the handouts that they don't pay for, go into the book. All the foldables that we use go into the book. Everything I do goes into, that's the holy book of my classroom. They're required to bring that book every day. So we'll do a journal writing in there sometimes. Generally, one of my favorite things to do with them is to pass out notebook paper to everybody and have everybody write one statement about something that they learned. And then I gathered them all up, and then they changed colored pencils, and then I passed them all out. Again, so they get someone else's, and then they respond to what that person said. And they have to do it without talking. So it makes it really cool. And then at the end, then we get it back up and we start sharing those. They can get into groups and share those. So a lot of my reflection is probably more oral. And I'm having to adapt my way of writing, since we're all required to write now. I don't use a textbook. We don't sit down and read. I personally hated any class that said I had to sit down and read. I turned off really quick. I do PowerPoints, but my kids, if you look at that poster in the back, where it has the orange and the green, my kids know, like, if it's, say, please pretend that the green is black, and then just that orange, just red color would be there, then my kids know that that's the only thing that they have to write in their spiral. Because it becomes too overwhelming for them to do. So then they don't mind just writing that little bit if it's in color. And it makes things interesting when you're looking at a PowerPoint. You can still read the information, you still can discuss the information, but
It's not so overwhelming.
it's not so overwhelming and stuff, so yeah. But that's pretty much what I do. Any questions?
Yes. Do you
Yes,
assign them the textbooks we read home?
Oh, yeah, they have them. We use them basically for vocabulary words, and you treat it as a reference source. But I personally just don't sit down and read a chapter.
Yeah.
No, but do you assign them to read the chapter so they know something?
They'll know what we do, yeah. I mean, they'll know like, oh, this is based on chapter 9 through 12. But yeah, most of my information will come from handouts that we give them, and so I just go that way. It's more interesting. But we highlight sometimes. You know, they all have highlighters or colored pencils. I had a professor once tell me that you remember things when you saw it in color. So, you know, I can be like greens and oranges, reds, you know, underline, emphasize.
How much technology do you incorporate?
I have a projector. I have my projector is a short throw projector, so I don't have a smart board. My board itself becomes the board when the projector's on. And I can have 6 kids up at the same time. And then I'm in the process of getting an iPad that's about to become my Elmo. I have a connection now. But I'm fortunate. I went to the SD conference this summer and went through some training. And my husband's also the supervisor of technology for Columbia County. So I get to, you know, test out a lot of things. And I have a microphone system in my class that I use. And I thought I would hate it. But I can just talk and every child can hear me. I don't have to raise my voice. I don't have to, you know, even if they get too loud, they still can hear me and stuff. So it's nicer. And the best thing about it is there's a camera function. It's not hooked up, but they don't know that. And so if they start to get a little crazy, I go, and they're like, oh, okay, okay. And then they settle down because they think everybody can see them. And stuff. But I hope that you got something out of it. And stuff. Can I ask anything else? Or yes, ma'am.
How long did it take you to come up with this method of teaching?
I was a parapro before I was a teacher. I've been a teacher. This is my 9th year of teaching. And I was a parapro, and I sat in my son's class, and I was looking at the teacher, and she wasn't doing a very good job. And I went, I can do this, and I can make it better. And I can make it more fun for the kids. And so I went to school and stuff, and I just, as my confidence grew, it just came. This is just who I am. I teach how I wanted to learn. You know, and that's just me. So yeah, I come up with a lot of things in the shower. I do. My best ideas are when I get ready. And I'll have everything all planned out, and all of a sudden I'm like, no, I can do it! The hair, the shampoo, I don't know what it is, but yeah, that works.
So when it comes to doing your test,
I'm sorry?
when you gave them the test at the end of the unit or whatever, how, you know, like, they're not using the book. The book is a resource, but how did they know what they really need?
A lot of it comes from the PowerPoints. I do give handouts. that focus on each thing. We talk a lot, we experience as much as we can. I can tell you the first year I taught Georgia Studies, the scores increased 24% on the CRCT, so it worked. It's about getting the kids excited, and I don't care what subject you teach. One of my best friends teaches language arts, and one year she had the kids write like grammar raps and things, and the kids loved it. And some of those kids can still come back and sing their song because they liked it. You relate it to something that they like. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you know. But if you're happy about it, and I go to school in tennis shoes. This was for you. But yeah, see, this is me. Tennis shoes. You're lucky I'm in shoes. I'd be in tennis shoes and a dress. I put on a beauty pageant yesterday. I was in a skirt and tennis shoes.
Running.
Stuff, running around like a crazy person. But the kids, when they come in, I'm excited about what I'm teaching. I'm excited about the information I'm about to give them, and that relates. If you're miserable in what you're doing, please find something else to do.
Music does help, though. I taught second grade in the past, and I just made up a little jingle for nouns and verbs.
My kids do.
But I
drive you crazy.
I do it with my 7th graders now too. You thought it was crazy, but I taught it to them one time. Not this year's class. I haven't got brave yet.
Well, this year my class is, and it doesn't have to be related to it, but you can say, okay, if we can get through this, and that's for the boring stuff. If we can get through this, we'll do the cha-cha slide. My kids love the cha-cha slide. I don't know why. But yeah, that music goes on. The teacher to my left,
and I share a wall.
Mr. Williams, who's behind me, they go nuts.
Because the kids in there, they finished. They got through it.
Do it today.
Oh, we got to get through it today.
Yeah, so we're done. That music goes on. It's different songs all the time, and we're up out of the desks and stuff, anything like that. Mr. Williams was great in his class, taking them outside. The kids even if they're just, let them read outside. They have to read the textbook or whatever, let them do it outside.
Do they teach the same thing or different
No, ma'am. Well, he teaches 8th grade social studies, but then he does a STEM class in high school science. Except we're just on the same team. So he has a lot to keep up.
Yes, I do.
No, but yeah, what you see is what you get. Except I'm usually in tennis shoes. Can I answer anything else? Or?
Do you have a main resource that you typically tend to go to? Maybe either a website or just...
I think other teachers, if you put in your subject, you can find all sorts of stuff. And I'm not, I am always, emailing me, I use your stuff, this is great, please let me use it. And I've never once had a teacher refuse me.
Are you many teachers in your school?
No, teachers around the state.
And do you do it by standard? Because I usually...
I don't use it as a checklist. I try to come up with something that's an overall, the timeline for us in Georgia Studies was tremendous because we were able to make it, we flowed with it. So it's just it's a story. This is where we started and this is where we're going to end up. The Library of Congress has some really, really cool things if you go there. The Smithsonian Institute, the National Park Service, a lot of them have virtual field trips that will take you through all of that stuff. And if you just put in virtual field trips, and I will be glad, my name is Barbara Petty. My email is barbara.petty@ccboe.net. And if you email me, I would be glad to share anything I have with you. But I specialize in social studies, but math, I did teach some 7th grade math, so I have a few things for that. But I use, for research, my kids are not allowed to go anywhere near Wikipedia. We do factmonster.com.
What is it again?
Factmonster.com. That's a great resource, and it's done in words that the kids can understand. Do you guys have to differentiate? That's a big thing in our school. Okay, I'm about to save your life. Rewordify, it's all one word, .com. I think that's how it's spelled. Rewordify.com will take any document that you have, and you can cut and paste into it, and it's free. That's the best part about it. And you can say what you do, but you can cut and paste any document you want, and it will change the wording for your lower kids. For example, like you can go there, and on the website is the Constitution of the United States. So it has the original document, and it will have the original word, and then in parentheses behind that word will give the kids another word to show them the meaning of the
Synonym.
word. So it's an excellent source for differentiation. They also have vocabulary words. Okay, they have vocabulary words that they will, come and close readings. It's a lifesaver for differentiation. But I've hit my time limit. Actually, I think I went a couple minutes over.
Yes.
So.